Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today's video is a project update video. If you are familiar with my channel, you may remember back in February, I did a video on what it was like being a first-time vendor at MoGameCon Jr. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you go back and check out that vendor experience video, as well as the pre-sale video of some of the interesting items that I was selling. Now, in that vendor experience video, I talked about an idea that I had for this Sega Monaco GP arcade marquee from 1980. I was really geeking out over this thing, and it's hard to believe that it's over 40 years old. So here is a quick clip that I did of that video 9 months ago. Already my mind was thinking, I'm building a box for this and I'm backlighting it. I need to figure out how to get some LED numbers to show up in these boxes. A simple marquee box, and slide this in, and it'll be enclosed with power coming down. But I need to somehow, if I could print out something that will still let light show through, that'll look like red LEDs. Now, the crazy thing is, this project has been done since last March, and I just never got around to editing it and showing off the finished product. So here is some of the footage from the build in case you want to make your own marquee light box for yourself. So first off, I wanted to give a shout out to my good friend Sean. This project would not have been possible without his help. He's been making wood projects for over 20 years, and somebody that would definitely make Ron Swanson proud.
I'm describing a person, not something complicated like a wooden sailing ship or proper dovetail technique.
Now, this is a project that can be done with limited tools, but will be much easier and faster with more expensive saws and attachments. So right now, Sean is cutting the sides, top, and bottom of the light box out of 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch MDF, as well as 2 inner side pieces that will be flush. These will be used for attaching the top and bottom pieces. Next, the top and bottom of the light box are getting slots cut into both sides for the marquee and the back to slide into. So at this point you can kind of see the light box taking shape. Next, the back is cut and all the pieces are put together minus the 2 outer side pieces to make sure that they all fit properly. The corners of the outer side pieces are now rounded and all edges are lightly routed to remove sharp edges. All the screw holes are pre-drilled and the pieces fit together beautifully, just like a puzzle. Now there's a guy that knows a thing or two about wood.
I respect all wood. I respect pine, I respect walnut, I respect oak. Doesn't matter. Day 2.
I then put 2 coats of white primer on every piece to ensure a smooth finish of the final outer color. Then I masked off the areas that I wanted to remain white inside the light box and put on multiple coats of satin black spray paint every 2 hours.
Day 3.
The next day I installed some 1/4 inch molding that I had left over from an automotive project. The pieces were cut to size and a little hot glue was needed to ensure the corners would lay flat. The top adhesive was then pulled off and the process was repeated on the other side. Then I installed a 40-inch RGB LED strip on the inside back, filling up as much space as possible without worrying too much about the corners sticking. I then plugged it in and did a quick test to make sure that everything was working and the colors cycled properly. At this point, the only thing left to do was to slide the marquee in and put the lid on. And there you go.
Many months later.
Alright guys, so here it is all finished, and as I said before, it's hard to believe that this is 40 years old. And before I light this thing up and show you how it looks, I wanted to talk just briefly about this game and why it was special to me. So I played this probably for the first time when I was around 13 years old at an arcade fittingly named Le Mans. And there was a lot of driving games there. This was the 80s, so that was kind of something that was starting to happen. You were seeing a lot of games like Off-Road, and Super Sprint was another one. I remember playing this, and honestly, for its time, when you look back, It looks a little crude, but it was still cool nonetheless. Now, there were some other games that were better, like Turbo from Sega, but this was kind of what started Sega's racing games. You know, it has a place in history, and this thing's very rare. You don't see one of these cabinets very often. I don't know if I've ever seen one since I was a kid. When I saw this at that convention, I could just picture it, and I just wanted to bring it back to life. And this is honestly as close a representation as you could possibly get without actually having the real thing. If you look at the pictures, it looks like I basically just sliced this right off the top of the cabinet. And this was almost the exact shape with almost the exact chrome molding. And when it's lit up, it looks like it should have looked back then. And keep in mind, all 9 of these boxes were clear when I bought this. The digital scores are produced from the cabinet, and this was laid over the panel. Taking it apart, I've already taken these, there's 2 screws here, 2 screws here, they're countersunk in these holes right there. And Marquee just slides out. Now when I opened this up 9 months later, I did notice that one of these strands had kind of come loose and pulled back a little bit, so nothing a little glue can't fix. And you can also see where we angled out this cut here so that it would make the Marquee easier to slide in and out. These are the lights that I used. I got these on Amazon. This is a 3.3 foot strand, and I just snaked them along, and honestly I think it worked out perfect. I wish they maybe were just a tad brighter, but honestly, it's hard to complain when they fit just perfectly. Now, to achieve the digital number look, Mike over at Wicked Sticker, which is close to my house, he hooked me up here, and I've went to Mike a few times now. So what he did was he layered layers of vinyl. There is a black layer and a red layer. And I honestly don't know how he did it. I just know that when he called me and said, hey, you're done, and I think you're gonna like it, I was not prepared for how amazing that it was gonna look. Now, I could tell already that it was gonna work, but it wasn't until I got home and I held it up to the light that I couldn't believe. You know, I told him what I wanted, and he literally read my mind. I could not be happier, and he hardly charged me anything for this. Honestly, this total project was very inexpensive. I think I paid $10 for the Marquee. Spray paint, we're talking $4. I already had the white primer. Lights were under 10 bucks. And my good buddy Sean, he wouldn't take any money for labor. And the wood was just scrap that he had left over, so that didn't cost anything.
Because you currently owe me $16,000 for the wood.
What?
So to put it back on, you've got a thicker slot and a thinner slot. The thicker slot is for the back. The thinner is for the Marquee. And it just fits together quite nicely, just like that. Now, one last thing, we did end up extending this back part out a little bit, and that is to put a French cleat on here. These French cleats make hanging so much easier, and by just insetting that a little bit more than the front, it put that flush in the back. And then as far as powering it, this is how it comes from the box, and then I just used a male to female USB extender, and then I'm just going to this phone charger, and it works perfectly. All right, guys, there you have it. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like all lit up. I think you're really going to like this.